All right, I'm skipping the rest of this Haley Stevens thing.
We're going to begin with.
All right, we'll talk about the man that was shot by ICE, a little bit more detail into his background. It's unbelievable injustice.
The demand for answers in Maine after the second deadly shooting by an ICE agent. This one, the last 2 weeks. The last person to be killed, his name is Johann Sebastian Guerrero. He was a Colombian immigrant. An official says he was not the target of the operation. It led to protests and new allegations of reckless behavior by federal agents. They have shot and killed at least 8 people since President Trump began his immigration crackdown. Lilia Luciano is in Biddeford, Maine with the latest. Lilia, good morning to you. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Gail. Well, the governor of Maine called the way immigration enforcement is carrying out its operations, quote, reckless and haphazard, as the community here in Biddeford continues reeling from this tragedy, the second deadly shooting by ICE across the country in less than a week.
Anger and shock in Biddeford, Maine on Monday after a man was fatally shot by ICE in his car. The victim is Juan Sebastian Guerrero, an immigrant from Colombia.
A 28-year-old man was killed by a truck while fleeing immigration agents in St. Augustine, Florida this morning, officials said. It's the third death involving ICE this week after agents shot a man in Maine yesterday. Jesus Christ.
According to a source with knowledge of the investigation. This doorbell camera video captured the sounds of gunshots on Monday morning. This video obtained by CBS News shows the victim's car, a white sedan, turning slowly in circles at an intersection. Then another vehicle appears to intercept the sedan, stopping it. ICE officers then approach the car and pull Guerrero out from the driver's seat. This video shows agents surrounding Guerrero laying on the ground, as this picture shows multiple bullet holes through the sedan's windshield.
They pulled the body out in the corner.
Corey Pullen's pawn shop and laundromat.
Yeah, he was dead.
That is across the street from where the shooting.
They basically handcuffed the corpse. They slammed his lifeless body, his lifeless head into the pavement too.
Unfolded, and his security camera recorded parts of it.
You believe the car was rolling because he had already been shot?
Yes.
Yes.
We believe. We don't know.
Immigration advocacy groups say Guerrero was 26 years old and had both a work permit and a social security number.
This was a father. This was a person who was trying his
in front of his wife and kids
to create a life and provide for his family. Overall, there's kind of just a general sense of confusion, pain, and anger, both from the community and then also a sense of loss and hurt from the family.
In a statement, DHS said ICE was conducting targeted surveillance on the last known address of an illegal alien. They say, quote, an illegal alien departed the residence in a vehicle and later attempted to flee, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon.
They sort of made it unclear, but the person they were after was not the guy they ended up shooting.
No ICE, no KKK, no fascist USA.
The community.
Bro, this, by the way, this is Maine, okay? But this is what I'm talking about when I say these people are, like, the olds are radicalized, okay? Oh, the olds are radicalized. The boomers, the grandmas, the grandpas. I'm not even kidding when I say this. Like, they're always out there, bro. They're always out there.
Maine is now demanding answers, with this happening less than a week after ICE officers fatally shot 52-year-old Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston, who DHS officials said also was not the intended target of that arrest.
And there are growing questions about the sequence of events because the officers were not wearing body cameras. Advocates are questioning how can there be accountability without that kind of evidence. Jolene.
And we are back with breaking news. Reuters.
Yeah, and then this led to ICE suspending vehicle stops for U.S. immigration enforcement.
Reports that ICE is suspending vehicle stops for immigration enforcement.
I guess the silver lining here is the recognition that this stuff is totally untenable. So the administration is far more responsive to the negative feedback, the negative pressure. Because, like, they didn't do this. They didn't do this at all, right? They didn't do this for the longest fucking time. It's temporary, but still. In the last year, my boomer mom has hit more IRL protests than me. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I think older people also want this change. That's why I feel a lot more confident about these left flank candidates running. White nativist screed from Waters while talking about this murder? Oh, no.
And they actually want to abolish the agency that's doing the work. So we can't work with these people. We can't work with these people, and we know why they're doing it. We used to win landslide elections in this country. Remember Nixon? Remember Reagan? 49 out of the 50 states. Why? All of a sudden, we bring in all this foreign-born population. Democrats are all of a sudden competitive. They didn't change how persuasive they were. They just imported everybody that lived outside of the country into the country. And now it's closer. That's why they want them here, no matter if they commit crimes or not.
Dog. 49 state landslide Ronald Reagan did amnesty. Fuck you mean, dumbass?
And they actually want to abolish the agency that's doing the work. So we can't work with these people. We can't work with these people, and we know why they're doing it. We used to win landslide elections in this country. Remember Nixon? Remember Reagan? 49 out of the 50 states. Why? All of a sudden, we bring in all this foreign.
Are you ever going to go on Fox News? No, none of these fucking outlets will ever have me on.
They are a massive driver of deportations, and this comes after ICE agents shot and killed another person, the second killing in just 1 week. Johann Sebastian, the 26-year-old Colombia native killed in Biddeford, Maine yesterday, was a delivery driver, husband, and father. According to a witness who spoke with MS Now, Sebastian's wife and young daughter were seen crying at the scene. Hours after the shooting became public knowledge, DHS released a statement saying ICE was conducting surveillance on a migrant facing a final order of removal when a person departed the residence in a car. ICE agents attempted to stop the vehicle, they say, and DHS says an officer opened fire, quote, fearing for public safety. But they have not provided any evidence to support those claims. The driver, who we now know was Sebastian, was hit by gunfire and later died. Maine Senator Angus King says DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen has since told him that Sebastian wasn't the intended target of the operation. A nearby surveillance camera captured video showing the moments after the shooting. And I have a warning, it is difficult to watch. Federal agents can be seen opening the car door and dragging an unresponsive man onto the ground, pulling him further away from the car, then appearing to secure his hands behind his back. Let's go right now to MS Now's Will McDuffie. He is there in Maine for us. And immigration attorney and former ICE chief counsel Veronica Cardenas is with us as well. Will, tell me what you're hearing from people in Maine.
It was a sleepy town about 20 miles south of Portland. This happened on a hilly intersection in a residential area at 7 a.m. People were waking.
Oh my God, I forgot about the Glaze Yingst interview with Donald Trump tonight.
Up, they're getting ready for work. I mean, the fact that this would happen is unfathomable, but at the same time, people are upset here because this is not the first time we've seen an incident like this. And also, ICE presence in Maine really ramped up earlier this year, so they're familiar with the presence of ICE officers here. And here at this park yesterday, there was a protest with a ton of people, including Senate candidates who showed up, and they actually walked up the hill behind me to a local Susan Collins office to protest. Now, I did speak to a couple eyewitnesses, including one gentleman on camera. Let's hear what he had to tell me.
I heard the kind of shotgun, and, I just came out to see what happened, and first thing I saw was him and a lot of ICE agents over there, and I saw his wife and his daughter crying, That was kind of weird, scary.
How has it made you feel?
I mean, they are killing.
Did you see Nick Shitley go to an old folks daycare and check the center trying to uncover more fraud and couldn't understand how 7,000 people weren't just there at the time he went? Where was the fucking adult daycare? Madison Square Garden? The fuck do you mean? 7,000 people? Was it an entire city block? Is that how big the daycare is? The adult daycare, by the way, is just an old folks' home.
Or people,
right?
you know.
Isn't that what it is? Like a nursing home. It's like senior care for the most part.
Now, to give you an idea of how close that gentleman was to the scene, I mean, right outside his house is a makeshift memorial right now for the victim, and that gentleman, he knew the victim. He said he was a family man, had a beautiful family, a wife and a young daughter, both of whom he said were on the scene yesterday. That's how he was able to identify them. He said the victim was a delivery driver. He reportedly was driving to work. And Tony, it's just so tragic all around.
It's incredibly heartbreaking. Veronica, I want to get your reaction to what we just heard from that man there. You know, as he's saying basically that it feels like ICE, that federal agents are going after us, you know, his community. Given what we've seen happen in Maine, what we know is happening in Texas right now, there is continued outrage and protests over the killing of Salgado Araujo there. I want just your reflection on what's happened over the past 7 days.
Yeah, and I've frustration. We heard Lorenzo's son state that he went to lawyers before this incident happened to see how he could best comply. And when we look at Joanne, one of his last statements was that I tried to stop. Have a very vulnerable immigrant community and their allies who are trying to comply with ICE directives, who are trying to comply with what ICE wants so that these situations do not happen. And there's so much focus on communities, right? Like even in the statement that was put out, this illegal alien, that is not true. This person was going through the process, Joanne. He had a work authorization. He was going through the process that the administration has laid out for non-citizens to go through. So despite all of that compliance, we have DHS not being reckless at this point, but being very deliberate in focusing on the numbers at whatever cost and whatever comes with that. And I thought that, you know, the death of Renee Good, Alex Preddy, there was a new Secretary of State.
And without cams that are required, it doesn't mean anything, dude. Come on. Police already have body cameras. It doesn't do shit. Body cameras. Dude, body cameras. Fucking the dickhead that killed Renee Good literally had a camera, a phone camera in one hand. He was filming himself murdering her. Body cameras are just a talking point for people to be like, oh, we're doing something. It's ridiculous. Almost all of these incidents are already filmed, like full spectrum coverage from every fucking angle too. It doesn't even matter.
That things may have been a little bit different.
It's still far better than nothing. No, the alternative is not nothing. The alternative is abolish ICE and punish ICE.
That was only 6 months ago. And
like ICE as a unit, this isn't to say that there is no need for like INS or something, but it's a paperwork crime. So the punishment and the apprehension or the regulatory agencies need to fit the crime. Okay? It's a paperwork civil misdemeanor. Why are we militarizing a group that's supposed to handle civil misdemeanors? It's not even fucking criminal. These guys do not have a criminal apprehension law enforcement mechanism. Okay? It's not real. That's not a real thing. I'm so confused. I guess I'm not confused because everyone just lies about it, but it's just so fucking frustrating to constantly have to explain this to people. But I guess I'll just keep doing it over and over again. ICE is not a regular member of law enforcement. Okay? They're not. Their job is literally, has been historically, to basically just issue paperwork notices to people. Okay? ICE does not prosecute people. ICE does not investigate people for the most part. Like, there are certain segments under ICE that used to exist under the FBI or other federal law enforcement agencies, like the ones that identify like pedophilia rings or sex trafficking, like things like that. They always existed. There's obviously a need at the federal level for some kind of enforcement against these sorts of crimes. ICE is a unnecessarily militarized law enforcement arm that has no real law enforcement power. Okay? They have no real law enforcement capability. They don't like solve crimes. They don't stop rapes. They don't catch rapists, right? Police do. Local law enforcement. Local law enforcement does this. Okay? Local law enforcement catches criminals if they even get to do that. They're usually not very good at it, but let's say in a normal world, in a perfect world, you got detectives that are investigating crimes. You got local law enforcement that's like catching criminals. And then you have prosecutors that prosecute them through the regular court system. And if the person also happens to be an undocumented immigrant, the criminal happens to also be an undocumented immigrant, then depending on the severity of the crime, and depending on the state statute to have the Department of Corrections even cooperate with the federal authorities, specifically ICE, you can then inform the federal agency that there's an undocumented criminal that has been convicted of a crime. And then you make the determination on whether or not you want to make sure that this undocumented migrant that's also a criminal carries out the end of their sentence and then gets deported, or they get deported immediately without carrying out their entire sentence. This is how it works. Anyone that tries to explain to you this alternative universe, okay, this alternative universe where there's like ICE agents are actually, they have a task force and they're sitting around and they're like solving crimes and they got like the ADL anti-Semitism data center, you know, that kind of thing, where they're sitting in a fucking bat cave. Like, it's bullshit. That's not real. Okay, that's not real. The way it currently works is they have one goal and one goal only. Okay, ERO. What they do is internal removals. Okay, interior removals is when you send ICE and you give them a list of people, a list of addresses, because of course, obviously, the federal government has all of the information of all of these non-citizens. Before we also forget, most of the non-citizens that live on U.S. soil are constantly in correspondence and contact with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. Many of them have long-standing immigration court cases, for example. Many of them are following through on their paperwork. 90% of them are following through on their paperwork, okay? More than 90%. So, the federal government knows exactly where these guys are. They know exactly where they work because the IRS also has their information. Okay? So what these guys do is they get a list of people, and because they have quotas for interior removals, they will literally just go to an area and be like, all right, today we're just packing up one of these guys. One of these random people. That's it. You're saying it's not a common issue if it was done efficiently? Wait, what? It's not a common issue. There is no issue. The issue is not supposed to be handled by this agency. There's no need for this agency. That's why the agency began to exist after 2003. This is not a real problem. It's not a real problem at all. If you're going to say like, oh, undocumented immigrants vote, they do not. No evidence for this whatsoever. You say they're doing crimes. Undocumented migrants are responsible for a lower share of crimes per capita than documented U.S. citizens are. And if you actually package that up with the documented migrant pool, then the number drops to such a tiny, minuscule, marginal number that it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Okay? That's it. It's totally ridiculous. The punishment does not suit the crime. The crime itself is not even a crime. And I'm not saying that as like a, abolish borders kind of guy. I'm saying that as like, it's just literally not like a serious crime at all. It's just a paperwork violation. The real crime is that the system has kept these people in legal limbo, has kept their legal status in limbo by design, so that there is a permanent underclass that can be exploited even more so than the documented labor force in this country. This, of course, depresses wages for the documented labor force as well. And our capital owners know that very well. And that is precisely the reason why there will never be mass deportations in this country, because Americans love capitalism, or rather, capital owners love capitalism far more than they actually want to be a white supremacist nation. Okay? That's it. You got the Stephen Millers of the world, and Donald Trump leans into their racialized agitation and their white nativist anti-immigrant agendas, but only to an extent. If you recall, early on when they were doing these mass removals, they would go to places of work, right? Places of business. They would go to hotels. They would go to farmland. Why the fuck were they going to places where people were working? I thought these guys were just a strain on our resources. Okay? Why were they doing that? Because they knew exactly where the documented and undocumented non-citizens would be. Okay? Trump put an end to that. Why did he do that? Because farmers and hospitality business owners reached out and were like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to arrest our cooks. You're not supposed to arrest our barbacks. You're supposed to arrest the fucking criminals. And Trump was like, sorry, my bad. I thought all brown people were criminals. That's it. The whole point of the two-tier the two-tier immigration system in this country, the two-tier labor force in this country, the labor system in this country is to draw out, to depress wages for the documented labor pool by constantly having a refilling underclass, a permanent underclass of undocumented migrant laborers. The proper, adequate solution to this is to quickly process and document these undocumented laborers so they too can also become a part of the documented labor force, join labor unions, and demand more of their productive output. As it stands currently, and this will, by the way, improve wages for the existing documented labor force as well as the undocumented one. That's it. That's it. But good luck explaining that to Americans who would rather be fearful of people who just look a little bit browner than they do. It's the easiest way to trick people. The easiest way to trick people. Scary foreigners coming to take your jobs, but also steal your health care, steal your welfare. It's bullshit. On that note, let's take a look at what this fucking demon is saying.
Yeah, if it was up to me, I'd be sending in the National Guard and rounding all these fuckers up and dragging them off the streets and putting them in camps. I would be. The moment that any of these people get in the street and start blocking traffic, I would be immediately shutting them down. Like, I hate these fucking people. And I would be going as hard as I possibly could. And the more upset and the sadder that they got and the more angry they got, the more I would do it. And if they started being violent, well, that's the way it goes. Don't do it. and follow the fucking law. Don't go and act like you can do whatever you want. It enables the behavior. I think the argument might be that these situations might get bystanders hurt more than anything to do with the immigrants. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's more to think about it, but overall, I don't think that they should roll anything back. I think that traffic stops are totally fine, and I don't think any innocents have gotten hurt so far, and it's because the people got shot. So, problem solved. Even in Canada, police can shoot you for driving at them. Even in Canada, that's bad. It's illegal to shoot to block public roadways, even if you're protesting. Why do we allow this? We allow this because we're cucked. We allow this because we're cucked. I tell people that I think that it should be the law that you can literally just run these people over if they're standing in the street.
Why isn't he banned? This is insane. It's kind of funny because, like, look, I hate the guy. But Destiny got banned for, you know, basically saying this. Okay. And of course, the reason why Destiny will never get unbanned most likely is because he's done far more damage since then, including but not limited to mass harassment campaigns against, you know, Twitch staff and things like that. But it is wild, like, how far we've come. It is wild how far we have come. Where Asmongold is just like, yeah, you should just murder people engaging in civil disobedience. Yeah, not that it needs to be said in this community, but anyone who justifies an undocumented migrant being shot and killed by ISIS is just straight up giving the game away. Like, just grow a pair and say it with your chest you want to kill brown people. Yeah. My goal is to radicalize people as much as possible. Asmongold's extreme rhetoric about immigration and ideological opponents. The video game streamer who routinely engages in political punditry has an enormous online presence with over 9 million current followers across platforms and 2.4 billion views on just his active YouTube channels in 2025. Yeah. He is the biggest right-wing. He is the biggest right-wing content creator in North America right now. Asmongold has urged the government to brutalize protesters or punish them with compelled slave labor and other extreme sentences. In October 2025, Hoyt called for arrested anti-ICE protesters to be used for compelled slave labor. Asmongold said he was not a fan of ICE potentially injuring protesters because then you can't make them work in the prison, adding, I would want to utilize their bodies for compelled slave labor. That's the only reason. In January, he called for anti-ICE protesters to be put in a camp for mandatory labor of 5 to 10 years. What is this statement? Hi, all. I know I've been quiet the last year with what's been happening with my lawsuit, but I can partially explain to you all I have been dealing with. TLDR, I hired Denham's legal defense team, and they will be representing me going forward. I intend to continue to fight the lawsuit. Now on to the detailed version. Unlike what has been said and speculated, my previous legal defense team has been in communication with Ethan's team since August 2025. During this time with Ethan's team, it was months and months of settlement negotiations. When you enter settlement negotiations, you are giving a list of ways to potentially settle, which I ultimately disagreed with. After settlement negotiations failed, my case defaulted. After my case defaulted, I attempted to find a new lawyer. I reached out and scheduled a meeting with Denham's legal team, and now here we are. I have retained them, and they will be representing me going forward. I intend to continue to fight the lawsuit. Thank you all for your continued support, Morgan. Wow, you're saying those YouTube lawyers were wrong again? Oh my God. Oh my God. It turns out they were wrong about this too? How is that possible? Wait, when you've been saying Morgan for months, you've been talking about Frogan? Yes. I believe she'll have a GoFundMe up and running as well. Anyway. President Trump vows to target power plants, bridges if Iran doesn't make a deal. Jesus Christ. Where was I? There was another thing I wanted to show you guys with respect to lawsuits. I don't know what this means, but did Ethan choose not to prosecute the Countdown episode claim, and Ethan Klein's lawsuit against Denim has officially been dismissed without prejudice, and the deadline to file for attorney's fees has been pushed back until after the appeals process for the claim? Like, he's still going through with the appeals process, right? Yeah, also, look at these fucking bots, dude. Dan Stalkman and the Sexpestity community have deployed bots. It's really funny because, like, you know, I exist in both the cyber stalked. I exist in this space where I'm cyber stalked by some of the most, like, mentally unwell people, but also work alongside campaigns from times. And there's something really funny happening where one of the policy people, Timothy Faust, Francesca Hong's policy policy director, woke up to a ton of replies like this on an entirely unrelated post. I appear to have been caught up in some sort of bot swarm that replies to anything Hassan retweets. Big world out there. Most of it is none of my business. Dizzying. No wonder you haven't commented about iNut. And it's really funny because I have no idea who the fuck these people are either. Like, Aiden using iNut to smear people while begging for Destiny's attention is peak desperation. While you claim you orbit, you're just burning every bridge to get there. Pathetic. And I don't even know what the fuck is going on here. Like, not even a little bit. What the fuck is a iNut? Who's Aiden? What the hell is going on? Do they think it's not obvious these are bots? I just don't know. Keemstar's creepy fixation on Aiden's public, and yet Aiden used it for relevance. That's not strategy. That's selling your soul for a retweet. I said Creamstar. What the fuck? What is this? Pegaslop Fun Day vid, maybe? Pegasus is a fucking idiot. This guy, what the fuck is this jawline, bro? This guy looks like the sexy half Korean, half white dude from the second season of Beef. Chadgasus? Bro, I just turned this. You sent me this link. You sent me this link and boom, I got fucking blasted with the handsome Squidward. What the fuck is going on? Oh my God, the May December kid. I like Chilipi Lol. I think he's Lebanese. Korean overzealots. Evil clavicular.
A couple days ago, we talked about